Welcome back everybody. Got this beautiful Scott Addict RC from 2010, 2011. Super lightweight bike. It's just around about 7 kilos at the moment, but we're going to work on that as well. It's got many small issues, mostly cosmetic, but it does have one big issue, which is why it's sat there abandoned for over 5 years. This shifter. So let's see if we can sort it out with this. So SRAM DoubleTap 10-speed shifters of this era. Well-known issue for failing. There's a piece in here that snaps. This piece here. So customer's left this abandoned in his garage for over 5 years now, because obviously the gears don't work because this is snapped completely in half. Hunted high and low. Basically everyone told me it can't be done. What you need to do is just remove all this, put sort of 10-speed 105 or a system like that. But I'm not buying that. So I did a bit more digging and I found a company in Taiwan that actually manufactured these. This is a handmade piece to resurrect this lever from the dead, and that's what we're going to do first of all on this bike, is fit this into the shifter, see if we can get this doing what it's supposed to do. If it don't work, we'll have a plan B. I'm not sure what that is yet, but let's see if we can get this working first. So first thing first, get the shifter off the bike and fit this part. Apart from the shifter issue, the bike's actually in pretty good condition. There's some corrosion on bits and pieces. Brakes seem to be pretty good. They are set up as Euro style in this bike, and the customers asked me to leave it that way. So on the UK, the front brake is normally on the right hand side, so we're leaving it on the left hand side on this bike. This Q-ring has been fitted incorrectly. The stop should be behind a crank. We can change that over. We're well over 1% wear on this chain, so we're going to fit a new chain and cassette to this 10-speed. The saddle clamp's loose. This seat clamp's been damaged, got a nut and bolt on there, so we'll either change that out or do something with it, replace it. Cables are in a very sorry state, so we'll be getting full new cables on the bike. And the pinch bolt there's corroded, so that'll be swapped out for a titanium one. A few of the cosmetics, like these brake bolts here, are corroded, and we're also going to fit some TPU tubes in here to save another couple of 100 grams. Try and get it under the magic 7 kilogram mark. I think it's 7.09 at the moment, so it's super light, very nice. First thing we're going to do is completely remove this shifter. We've got new hoods on order as well. That's got a big split down the back. So it's going to be new hoods, new bar tape, new cables. So basically we're just going to remove this from the bike completely to do the work, and then reassemble with all fresh components on there. When we fit the new bar tape, it won't be getting duct tape fitted. So first things first, going to take these gear cables off. So they're all getting replaced anyway, they're all pretty crusty. Let's do that. Change all the outers as well, you can see the corrosion falling out there. Same on the front. And this back brake cable, so we can get that lever off. The housing sees solid in the barrel adjuster, so that's another job. Let's get this bar tape off, just cut this. Don't cut the bar, so we're cutting upwards, just cut the tape. We've got new hoods on the way as well, so these are coming off. There's a massive split in this already, so there's no point even trying to get it off. It had a huge split in it. Look at the state of that bolt, oh dear. Woo. I'm just going to take these cables off, so everything's getting changed on here. So brake cable, oh, that's stuck in the frame as well. Brake cable's really bad. Whew. Right, so now we can get these off. Try and get these out of the lever now. That's off, and that's off as well. So brake should just come out the front, nice and easy. Alright, now let's get this lever off. Well, the remains of this gear cable will come out when we take it apart. Alright, now we can try and attack this bolt. This could be interesting. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looks. That's seated in there nicely. Oh, that's okay. You don't do these more than you think to clear the curvature on the bar. And we just slide it off. Okay, let's see if we can fix this. So full disclaimer, I've never done one of these before. There's no instructions out there apart from a video by Jem's Workshop or the guys in Taiwan that make this piece. So this was around about $30 shipped from Taiwan to the UK. I think it was took about a week or so as well. So looks like handmade, looks very high quality. So fingers crossed this is all it needs. We shall find out. Alright, trying to take these screws out first of all. I've got a tripod and a camera standing between me and this first time repair as well. So just to add a little bit of more difficulty. So the reason I managed to get hold of this bike is it's a regular customer of mine. I do his mountain bikes and his lads DJ bikes and mountain bikes. And he mentioned he had this nice racing bike hanging up that he's abandoned for years and years. And I said, what's the issue? Told me what the issue was and thought, let's have a go. How hard can it be? So that's why it's here. First of all, there's a pin here that goes all the way through here. You've got to push out according to the video. Right, so that screw there must stop that pin coming out. So let's take this screw out. So SRAM don't give instructions for this. They just want you to buy a new shifter, which you can't buy anymore, I don't think. But by all accounts, pretty much all of the levers of this era fail in the same way. So it'd be nice if I can show you how to fix it. pull that pin out, I think. I'm guessing there's a tiny clip on the end missing there. Let's see what we can find with that. In the video, he just basically, all he does is put a pick up here and push that out, so let's give that a go. You can't really see the centre of it, that's the problem. There is a hole up there, you basically push that and that pin starts coming out the back there. And now hopefully I can just pull this pin out. And it should fall into 1,000 pieces. Right, there we go, so that pin comes out there. And now lots of bits should come out. So I'm doing this from one tiny little 2-minute YouTube video that I've had to look at. And I hate taking shifters apart. Right, don't panic, I've got the bits. Right, those 2 bits just fly out. If you're nervous about me getting this back together, then believe you me, so am I. There's pretty good videos on how to reassemble double tap shifters online though, so how hard can it be? Right, so that bit comes out. And this is the bit that's broken. This bit here. Right, success. I'm not going to lie, I don't really see a problem with this piece here. It did look when it was on the bike that this piece had sheared off completely, but it actually looks like that on the new one, so potentially that's not even the problem. Anyway, we've got one if we need it. So this pin here, obviously that I pulled out, that needs to go back through there. I think this just needs a damn good clean in the ultrasonic, personally. So that piece there is on a spring. That's absolutely covered in dried up grease, that's going to need a good clean. So that's okay as well. So all the springs look okay, and I don't see any obvious wear anywhere. But what I'll do first, I'll just put all this in the ultrasonic. I'm going to put this entire lever in as it is and get all this crusty stuff out and lubricate it up and see what happens. So in the ultrasonic you get little baskets here to put smaller pieces in, and yeah, just throw it through the ultrasonic and then see what happens. Strange. I was convinced this was snapped in half. I was wrong. Right, they're in for 18 minutes. No heat on this one. Okay, so it's out, it's cleaned. I've just done a dry run off camera just to figure out how to put it back together because I'm a bit fiddly. And guess what, it works. So I'm just going to show you how I did that. But first of all, I'm going to change this piece over because we've got it. We've come all the way from Taiwan, so we may as well do that before it actually snaps in real life. So let's do that. So it's just 2 little springs. I hate springs. I'll warn you now, I hate springs. Might be some swearing. Might be done off camera yet, don't worry. So this little piece here just pulls out. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a clip on the end of that or not. If there is, it would be nigh on impossible to fit. So this pin here does just push out, and I'm pretty sure there should be a clip on the end of that. I'll see if I can find one. I've got some. Unhook this spring first to make it a bit easier. And then this pin just pushes through. Right, wish me luck. So what we're going to do is just replace this piece here, I'll say. They all, pretty much all just fail here, so that's what I presume was wrong with this one, but actually I was wrong, but we've got it, so we're changing it. So that comes out there. Right. So that's that pin just pushed through there. Hook this spring back into, I think it was in here. Right, that feels plausible. Now we've just got to get this other little spring out of here. How does that sit? It could be interesting. How the hell are you supposed to get that out? Okay, yeah, this could be interesting. Right, so I've just filmed that and forgot to switch my microphone on, so I'm going to do it again for you. Right, so I've made an executive decision. We're not changing this piece here. The reason being, there's another spring in here which is absolutely impossible to get out. Basically, it's got to come. This long piece here goes inside with the other one, and then you have to pull it all the way out the top of here or out the front of here. But this one's too long to get underneath here. This one's too long to get in there. So the problem being now, if I try and get this out and snap this spring, just for changing a part that we're changing for changing sake, then I've effectively written off the shifter because you can't get the spring as a spare part, obviously. So I'm not going to do it. So what I'm going to do is obviously keep hold of this part in case it ever does snap on the customer's bike. I say he's very local anyway, so we do have one if need be. And then I'll just worry about this spring then, because it's literally impossible to get that. I think I don't know how on earth you're supposed to get this in. If anybody's got any ideas, let me know. But I don't feel confident getting that out without snapping either this tiny piece off here. So if I do snap that off there, then basically I've got to source a new shifter or a used shifter, just for the sake of trying to show you guys how to get a spring out that doesn't need to come out. So sorry, it's staying put. So I'll show you how to put the lever back together in here, because I've done it about 6 times now off camera, and it's actually pretty straightforward. It is covered in oil because I did lubricate it after I've just filmed it the first time, so I apologise, it has been lubricated. Right, so that's in. This piece here is pretty straightforward. This one just sits at the top. Pull this one out of the way to get it in the first place. Like that. That just sits at the top. put the pin through just to locate this piece. Alright, so that's going through there. Don't put it all the way through yet because we need to get the other piece in. Alright, so I'm just going to flip this up the top out of the way now, otherwise you can't get the other bit in. Alright, so you need this space here to put the second part of the lever in. And this spring first as well. This spring just drops down the inside. And then this drops into here. This top of the spring locates in here. This bit locates in here, and then the pin goes through the middle. Yeah, it's just this is the tricky bit, is getting this in here because you're overcoming the spring pressure and trying to locate this through here at the same time. So it's a bit more challenging. Press that in and press the pin in. Jiggle stuff around until it drops through. Right. I think that's just started to locate through there now. So it's just fiddly. You've got to get this pin lined up, this plate lined up that way and that way, and you've got to overcome the spring pressure and press this in at the same time. So you do need 3 pairs of hands job. But once it gets going, it goes in fairly easily. Just push this pin all the way through the back, and it will locate without stabbing yourself. Just push this all the way through like that. That screw that we took out, it goes through there to stop this pin coming loose. And that's it back together. I have lubricated it already, so I'll just use some TF2 lube. Just give it some basic like that. I think ultimately that's all that was wrong with that. So if we test it now, you'll see that's the last gear, down one, and then to go up. It's working fine. I'll put a cable through there, put it in the vise, and then we can replicate the tension of the derailleur, and you'll see it still works. Right, so I've got a cable hooked up to the vise here, and I'm pulling this obviously to replicate sort of spring tension of the derailleur. This is what it'll feel like when it's back on the bike. So that goes up there, lovely. It goes there, that's the end, and it goes down. I think potentially this one here does need a clip on the inside, because if this drifts out, it stops this pin acting in here and it falls out. So I'm going to have a look, see if there is a clip available. A little C-clip's going to pop on there, and it'll be the same size as the other end of that. And I think that's going to just put this to bed, basically. So that needs to stay in there all the time, but it's potentially working loose, and then rides over here and causes you issues. So I'm going to have a look for a little C-clip on that, put them in, and call this fixed. Right, so I've actually found these 2 little clips here. These are from SRAM brake calipers. So they actually fit perfectly on that, and same on this one as well. So I can just reassemble, hopefully using these. Good. That one's in. I think realistically, that tiny little clip there is what's kept this bike off the road for 5 years. That's crazy. Right, let's get the other one back on. And this one should just slide over this corner piece here. Perfect. Good. Repaired. Well, that's all that bike needed. So the owner had been told by the previous owner, I think he thought this was wearing out, or this bit was wearing out, but in actual fact, I mean, I told him this had snapped in half in here was what the normal diagnosis was, but that's wrong. That's all it was. Basically, those 2 clips had fell off. So let's get it back together. So all this screw does is stop that pin falling out. That's in. So I'm going to leave this gear cable fitted because it's a bit of a pain to get a cable through these. There's no access port on it. It's a bit old school. Make it a bit more challenging. Just going to put this cover back on now. So that's all repaired, back together. Let's get it back on the bike and continue. Fresh chain delivery just come in from Shimano UK. Obviously all genuine chains. So yeah, we'll get through quite a few chains. So I took the old clamp off just to check the size. It's a 34.9. I've just got some on order. They're not coming today, so I've just put this temporary quick release one on. If you notice it in the video, that's why it's got this fitted. Right, get this lever back on. I've found a better bolt. This is off a Shimano lever. It's not rusted, so I've used that one. Right, you can see where the band used to be there, so we'll just drop that back exactly where it was. Some handy rust. Right, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cable up this rear derailleur just to make sure this does actually work properly. I'm pretty confident it will now. So we'll just roughly cable this up and get the gears going. So there's actually an inline adjuster on this rear derailleur, which is unusual. We don't need it, so I'm just going to make one piece of cable, take this out and save a couple of grams, because we are trying to save a bit of weight on this bike still. We'll change this rear housing as well while we're there, obviously. The reason I say we don't need an adjuster is because obviously there's one on the rear derailleur. So you get one on the front derailleur cable because you don't have an adjuster on the derailleur itself, but obviously on the rear you don't need to overkill. More things to go wrong, more things to corrode, and extra weight. This is a plastic ferrule on this one there. Right, let's just run this down to the down tube. This is just a rough mock-up at the moment. Let's just get rid of this rubbish bit. Right, this will go around the back of this and over there, I believe, through that groove and over there like that. There you go. Make sure you're on the lowest sprocket before you tighten that up. So I'm not too concerned about the index in here because we are putting a new chain and cassette on. These are very, very worn, so it won't be particularly good anyway. All I want to do is test the operation of the lever. And down. Right, so there's too much cable tension on there. You can see how slow it was coming down, but I say this is worn out. This is totally worn out. We've got a lot more work to do yet before we start worrying about the indexing of the gears. But the actual function of the lever is working fine. So index going up, index going down. Didn't go down particularly well, as I say, because there's too much cable tension. So we'll work on that later. Calling that fixed, you're back on the road. So what I'll do now is I'll take this chain set off so we can just swap this pin over to where it should be behind this crank. Potentially you could just take the rings off while it's mounted, but let's just get it out and get it cleaned. There's just a 5mm bolt and a 8mm preload on the other side. Nice crank Caesar. I don't see many rotors. This is one of the older ones I think, but it's still a very nice crank. Well, this should hopefully just come off now. There we go. Right, there we go. A good fit. When it gets stuck halfway or like this, I've got a tool there that was made up by BSC cycles. Basically just drift that through with a 3D printed one. Works really well. So, I'm not sure if they sell it. I asked them to make it one as a trial, but I'm not sure if they actually continue to sell it. But yeah, it's been really useful. HT2 axle remover aid BSC. The bearing's seen better days. The other side's okay, but we'll get this one changed out. Well, we'll change them both while we're here. We'll take this chain off actually. I've just put some degreaser to soak. I'll take this chain off because we're obviously changing it. I'll just drop out the wheel in preparation for these new cassette and tube. I'm going to drop the front wheel out as well, just give it a bit of a clean. It's in pretty good condition obviously. Oh, that's tight. These Nipex parallel pliers are absolutely awesome for this sort of stuff where it's aluminium. They don't tend to mark anything at all. That's not been out for a while. Right, this is a Shimano bottom bracket, so we're not going to be able to change those bearings. It's going to be a press fit BB9141. Looks like this cable guide was glued on at some point. That's just come straight off there, so we'll clean this up and get it stuck back on again. Not very good, is it? Super lightweight frame. I think it's like 800 grams or something on the RC. Back in the day it was groundbreaking really, I think. Well, there used to be a screw in there once upon a time by the looks of it. That's fell off. Been rounded out or whatever. What we'll do is we'll pull the bottom bracket anyway, and we'll see what's left of that inside, see if it's repairable with a riv nut or something potentially. Probably be too deep though, but we'll have a look, clean that up. Plastic razor blades are really good for this. Just get this sort of rubbish off without scratching the paint. You're going to notice down there there's already paint flaked off. And yeah, you can see there used to be a thread in there at some point. Let's see if we can I'll take the bottom bracket out and we'll see if we can run a tap through that. So I'm just using the BSC puller on this one. Standard one for press fit. Great tool. Let's wind that on and here she comes. I don't know if you can get BSC overseas, but in the UK they do make some real fantastic tools. I'm probably sure they do. There you go, look at that, it's full of water. There you go, nice. So potentially, because of that cable guide fell off and someone looks like they've siliconed it on at some point, they've blocked a drainage hole in the frame, which is why that water's in there, it looks like. That's the other half out. Yeah, so it's full of water. I'm just going to clean this up. It's not unusual to find water in the bottom bracket shell, but on a frame of this quality you wouldn't expect to see that. You'd expect, I think the original drainer, yeah, you can see the old rev nut in there. Look. You probably can't, but I can. There's a rev nut in here, it's probably broken. God, it's so thin, this frame. See why it's so light, it's like, ooh, nothing there. Right, let's go back to the bottom of this and see what we can find. I'm just going to try and run a tap through there first. I'm not sure what size it was. We're trying M5. This is a little wearer one that you put in a ratchet. These are absolutely awesome. A little pointy end on it. Yeah, I think there's something snapped in there. The original bolt. Yeah, this. Oh, hang on. Oh, so the remains of the original riv knot there. Not much left of it. Let's see if we can get a new one in there. Just full of rubbish and corroded off where that water's been. Nothing left of it. There's not even a hole for this though, so I'm not really sure what the idea of that was. So we've got a choice. We can either stick this back on, or the other choice is to rivet it back through there and find a screw that's going to go through it. Decisions. It's never been screwed on, no. It's clearly been glued. I guess it saves a gram. There's the rivet knot loaded. It's got some anti-seize on here as well, just to get that in. It's just like a pop rivet gun, basically. Really good tools. So all that does is just expand ever so slightly at the base and holds that in place. So there is enough clearance to get this bottom bracket shell past there. Right, so I need to just drill a small hole through here now. Just move my light so you can actually see. So this is all the paint where that silicon's been on over the years. It's a bit rubbish. We'll put some grease in here. Now I can screw this back in and then put a bottom bracket back in. A new bottom bracket. 86.5 shell. 86.5 Shimano press fit. Let's go. Right, more BSC loveliness. Let's get this pressed in. Pressing it in dry. It's a plastic cup on a carbon frame. You don't generally need Loctite on the plastic cups. The aluminium ones, normally I would Loctite them in, but plastic ones just press straight in. Just wind this in. So press fits are so easy if you've got the right tools, honestly. They're super, super easy. But they are going away now. By the looks of it, most of these things are coming through with threaded bottom brackets now, which is good. Look at that, straight in. I guess it's hard for you guys. You've got bottom bracket issues. You must be like dreading the cost and the expense and the hassle, but you can see how easy it is. It literally took 30 seconds to do that. So just take it to the bike shop. I mean, I don't charge a great deal to do that. It's not distorted the shell or anything, so it's cleared that rivet knot down the bottom. Right, so the whole point of taking that out was so we could move this pin on the chain set about an hour later. Let's do that. So the whole point of taking that off was so we can move this pin. It needs to be behind the crank there. If the purpose of it really, if your chain falls off, it stops the chain getting wedged between the ring and the crank. So it's quite important that it goes in the right place. So that's literally the whole reason we're doing this. Because there's so many options on this chain ring for its location, I'm going to take a picture so I can remember where it goes. There's so many different options. If you're not sure, just take a picture, it's so easy. Right, it's got a random specialised chain ring bolt on here instead of the 5mm. This is a T27. The rest of them are 5mm rotor ones. So it looks like someone's had a go at it before. So I'm filming this now. What is it? It's 10th of May, 12th of May. So I think you'll probably see this probably end of June now. I've got about 6-7 weeks videos uploaded already. So at this point in time, I'm on just over 4,000 subs, which is pretty good. Not sure what I'll be on by the time you guys watch this video. Hopefully a bit more than that. So the channel's going really, really well. Enjoying it. So yeah, feedback's been massively positive from the vast majority of people. You get the odd person, obviously the odd troll, but right. So the whole point of this, I say, is moving this from this one here to this one here. That's literally it. That's the whole reason. Well, that wasn't very tight. A very, very fine aluminium thread on that. That's not going to stay in. Well, I'll put some red Loctite on that, and that should keep it in for the purpose of what it does. As long as your gears are set up, it should never be used, but it's just there as a just in case thing, and it's not been doing anything for the last 10 years because it's been in the wrong place. So let's get it in where it should be with some red Loctite. Right, so now we can put this back in where it should be. So I just took a picture, but I'm pretty sure I can remember where it used to be. Just reassemble this. I'm just putting a drop of grease on these. Kind of best practice. It's not essential by any stretch of the imagination, but what happens when you don't is people shout at you in the comments saying you're doing it all wrong. Chain rings needs to be pretty tight. You can torque them if you want, but I've never felt the desire to. Never had one fall off yet. Anybody else using oval rings still? Very niche. Very Marmite. Love them or hate them. Right, that's that job done. That was probably 2 hours filming just to swap that pin from there to there with the bottom bracket job as well and the riv knot, but needed doing. Right, just grease on that axle now, just clean that up a bit. There's a slight bit of marring and pitting on there, so potentially it might need a new axle at some point, but I don't think the guy's going to be that stressed about it. Let's get this back in the bike. There we go, a bit easier than it came out. Just refit the O-ring that was on there. Crank, only go one way. Preload this up. These are Rotor 3D cranks. How old they are. Nice. Just a little bit of preload on there again. All we're doing is taking that side to side. Play. Yep, then we're just tightening this up here. There's no torque spec marked on this. I'm just going to go and check on the PDF to see what it should be at. So rotor's asking for 7 to 8 Newton meters in this one. Done. Alright, so that's fitted. Lovely. Big job. Well, I'll say all that amount of effort just to move that from there to there, but it needed doing. It's essential. Like I say, if your chain falls off, it goes down here, it's getting proper stuck behind this nice shiny crank and expensive chainring, so it has to be there. So I'm not touching this front derailleur because the clearance on a Q-ring is so vastly different. We've got 10mm here, and then you go up to your standard sort of 3 or 4mm here. So shifting can be compromised a little bit on the overall ring, but this has been shifting previously, so I'm leaving it where it is. Right, as there was too much tension last time, I'm just doing this with slightly less. We do still have that inline adjuster. I mean, it's either completely broken or it's fake. It's not doing anything, honestly. It doesn't do anything. You screw it all the way in, nothing's moving. Like I say, there's no movement on that at all. So bizarre. So that's on. So what I need to do now is strip the other side of the handlebar off to change the gear cable housing for the front derailleur. Then we can put a new cable to that. Then we'll put the chain on, then we'll put the cassette on. And see how it's running. Then we just got to work on these brake cables that are seized up. So I've just took the bar tape off on the camera. So we're changing all the housings, brake housings, gear housings. If you ever take bar tape off, then it's a great time to do it, really. Cut this front brake cable. Okay, that's the front of the lever. Good. This gear cable comes out, but it's not quite so easy to get the new one in, unfortunately. It certainly wasn't on the other one. It's pretty crusty as well, but it does work. Surprisingly few parts to these shifters are pretty simple mechanisms. Right, so it goes in here. And it should just force itself through to the top. But there's a bit of a crap design on this, to be perfectly honest with you. It's going. Not as easy as some of the ones. Right, so up to the top ring, trim down, bottom down. Right. So front and back brake, these are seized in solid, so these could be a challenge. This is oh, actually that one's come out, good. Happy days, I thought that was going to be a nightmare. That one's out. Let's try the back one. Right, hopefully that comes out as well as the other one did. Just going to get some penetrating on there, just cover your pads up. Get the other end out, so I've got some leverage on it now. That's a good fit, that is. No chance. Right, let's unscrew this from there. And get this plastic part off, and then we can probably get some heat on it. Right, so I'm just going to clamp this in. This is an old soft jaws that I use for threads. They're all broken already, so I'm not concerned by that. I've got another set. I'm just going to get some heat on this, and hopefully it'll come out now. This little heater is great. It's only a little creme brulee thing, but it's been brilliant for this. Well, that's out. I'm not bothered about that bit. It's the centre bit that we need to get out. But because this is aluminium and that's steel, this should expand faster than the centre bit, so it should come out with pliers. At least that's the theory. Anybody watch Project Farm? Good little channel, that comparison thing. He was testing these the other week. Well, it's probably the other month by the time you watch this video, but he did a test on these things and they're really good. I'd recommend one. Right, let's see if I can get that out. Probably not. I'll have to drill this. People say use metal ferrules, but you can see what a pain they are when they go wrong. Just crumbling out now. So I'm going to have to drill this, I think. Right, so check the front one. It's run about 5.5, 6mm, so we'll run the 5.5 through first. Right, that came out there. So let's just pulled that straight out, no problem. Right, just get this back on the bike now. I'm going to put some grease on there because these do tend to seize. So while it's out, I'll get some grease. So the only reason, again, this needs to come out before we can finish the other end of the bike, the lever. the new brake cables and stuff, we needed to sort this out first. So we're going a bit backwards and forwards, but this needed doing. So this pinch bolt's really pretty poor, it's all rusty. I'm going to fit a titanium one to that. I've not got one in yet, it's an M6x10, they are on order. What's left of that cable, so I'll just take this bolt out. The front one's already titanium and this one's not for some reason. So now I need to get some gear cable housing, brake cable housing, run the two new brake cables through Euro style. I'm going to forget that, I know I am. Clean these bars up, wrap the bars, and then we can look at the chain and cassette, set the gears up. A little bit of corrosion starting on this bar, so the paint's getting a bit fragile unfortunately, but I guess it is. Again, 15 years old. Aluminium does tend to corrode underneath when the paint just bubbles up, and much you can do about it. So we do need the adjuster in the front gear, obviously. When you cut the brake housing, quite often you get this piece left on the end. You can either cut it off with some snips or just run it through the grinder. That's what it needs to look like, nice and smooth. So there's end caps on there. I'm going to put just a slight covering of grease on this because again it was sort of semi-seized in both ends. Just a little bit, just to stop it seizing up really. So on this bike, this one is the front brake, which is unusual for, well, it's the opposite way to the UK basically, but that's how it was set up and the guy wants to keep it like that, otherwise he's going to get confused. So that's the front brake, so we just need to do tape these to the bar now. Keep these in nice and tight. Good, that one's done. Cut the rear brake housing again and carry on. Again the brake cable again. Now the rear, not the front. Get this one taped up. Alright, so this bar's done, front bracket's done, pins moved on there. We've unseized both the brakes, gear lever's working, and so now it's going to be a case of fitting the new chain, new cassette. We are going to change these tubes over to some TPUs, and I think all we're waiting for then is a replacement pinch bolt for the rear caliper. I can use the old one for now just to get the bike working, and then I'll change it over when it arrives. Right, running this front gear cable, obviously now that guide's been bolted down, it's going to be a big improvement. I'm just wobbling around on a bit of silicone. Right, make sure you're in the lowest gear, which we are. Just pull that, get some tension. Let's just try that, fingers crossed. That's up, trim, down. Good. Very good. Right, brake cables now. They should hopefully just thread straight through the outer, and they do. Much easier than a Shimano lever. Shimano levers can be extremely frustrating putting new cables in. That was nice. Good. Just pull that cable through and we'll set this tension later. So the customer wanted me to change these crusty old bolts out. If I can get them out, I'll change it. Right, so that's a 2mm. Hopefully they come out. Yeah, no. There's a problem. These bolts on these calipers are just such poor quality. You can see this is a high quality Allen key, and as soon as I touched it, it's just gone straight through there. So let's try a different one. Let's try a socket on that instead. It might be better. Yeah, that's better. Good. If you're still struggling, then you can use a Torx bit that you hammer into it, or ultimately drill it out, or just change the entire casing. But these are nice silver shiny ones, so we'll try and keep them. Right, that's out. Just grab a new screw. When you buy new pad inserts, they normally come with a couple of screws in there, so I'm just pinching one out of there. I've got loads spare in here. I'll put a little bit of grease on this one. It's the 2.5mm instead of the 2mm that came out. That's that one. Check the other side. The other side's okay. Okay, simple little job, but it just adds up to the detail of the bike. This bolt up here, can't really get the camera in there, but this bolt up here is extremely crusty. However, all the lacquer on this bridge here is flaking very, very badly, so I don't really want to touch that bolt for no particular reason other than the corrosion. Because what's going to happen is all this lacquer is just going to fall off completely and look worse than a slightly rusty bolt. You can see up here the lacquer is lifting quite badly, so if I touch that bolt there, chances are well, that's going to fall off and end up looking far worse than a bolt that you can barely see. So staying put. So we've got some new bits to fit. We've got some bar tape here, got some new lever hoods customers just dropped off, SRAM ones. I've got 2 TPU tubes, new chain and new cassette. Cassette wise, we've gone for a slightly different size. It's currently an 11/28 10 speed, but they are extremely hard to get hold of at a sensible price. So for £20 instead of sort of £70–80, you get a 1228, so you lose one tooth on your lower range. So pretty much every customer goes for this option because it's literally a third of the price. So trying to track one down that's an 1128 10 speed, they're very hard to get hold of now. So we're going to 1228 on this one. Yeah, 10 speed's getting a little bit harder to get now, stuff like this, but I mean, it's still out there, but this one won't go in, so I'm going to try the other one. They don't fit there, how do they? Going on here. Neither of my cassette tools fit in this, that's interesting. Could be a Campag type fitting. The tool that fits that one is actually a Campag tool, which is interesting. That could be an issue. This is a fulcrum hub, so this could actually be a Campag cassette on a SRAM system. That would be interesting. Right, let's get this off. Okay, so that's off with the Campag lock ring tool, and the Shimano cassette does not fit on this. The splines are the same spacing, but it doesn't fit. I've just tried an old one on here. Right, let's put a spanner in the works. Got to figure out what cassette we need for this now. Alright, let me do a bit of research. That's a new one on me. That's a special type of cassette there that Shimano used for a very small period of time around this era. So it has much deeper spines than a normal cassette, so a normal one won't fit. So I've got one on order anyway, which will be here tomorrow. So what I'll do at the moment is put the old one back on just so we can set these gears with a new chain. It should work fine. It's just for the purpose of setting the actual index in. I'm going to fit the TPU tubes into these wheels and put the wheels back in the frame and finalise the cables and wrap the bars, and then pretty much it then really. Just a few little finishing pieces. So let's get these tubes in. They're very nice wheels, but I've never seen one of them before in how many years I've been doing this, for a long time. I didn't even know they existed, so that's caught me out a little bit, but never mind. Another cycle industry standard. So I'm making a video, I don't know if it'll be out by the time you see this one, but I'm making a video around cycle standards, and it's just the ridiculousness of it, like 500 different types of derailleur hangers and 3 different valves, many different types of free hubs, and there's thousands of different settings, so it could be quite a funny video if I get it out. The reason we're fitting TPUs on this bike primarily is for weight saving. So this is the standard butyl tube that's in there, 103 grams, and the TPU that's going in there, 22 grams, so we're losing 160 odd grams between 2 inner tubes, which on rotating weight is a big deal. Right, let's get this in. This is a Think Rider. You've probably seen my TPU videos anyway. Okay, that's that fitted. I'm going to refit this yellow Continental one because it matches the bike a bit better. It's not a Conti tube, but it looks better on the yellow frame, so that's staying on. I'm going to put this old cassette back on just temporarily, just so we can set the gears, wait for the new one. Actually, the front wheel's already got a latex tube in there, so I'll just leave that be. They're decent tubes as well. Leave that in. Alright, so I've got the wheels back in the frame now. I've just put some grease on this quick release because that was pretty tight on the front. So yeah, I'll put a new chain on, tidy up these cables and set the gears. So just fitting the new Shimano chain. There's writing on the Shimano chain to the side with the writing faces out this way. Right, and these 10-speed Shimano chains don't normally come with quick links either. They come with a pin that you press through. So I've sized this to the size of the old chain. I had already checked the length of the chain was okay, big before. Just going to put this tool on here to some slack to connect it with. Basically just holds the chain together like that, and then you can just easily put the pin through there. There's a special connecting pin on these Shimano chains instead of the quick link. Some of the older ones like this, all the 10-speed ones come with these. So you basically press this through from non-drive side, get it level, and then just snap. I'm just going to cut this cable off because my camera's focusing on this cable instead of the chain. Alright, so you need to press this through from non-drive side, which is a bit fiddly. There's a wheel in the way. I'm not a big fan of these. I've got some 10-speed links, so you can't really see what you're doing. So it goes through basically until it's almost level. You'll feel that it's actually just snapped itself off there. And what you need to do is check there's no stiff link, which there isn't. Quite often you'll end up with a stiff link after you've done that. You need to use this first set of plates there just to flex it open a bit. No, it's not gone through far enough. That's what I don't like about these. It snapped off before it went all the way through. Like I say, I'll probably end up taking this out and putting a quick link in anyway. What tends to happen before it goes through, it tends to end up flexing this end plate and never going in correctly. Right, that's in. So you can end up with a bit of a stiff link then like that when you fitted these, like that. You need to put it on this second set of plates here. Just flex that open very gently. Just take the tension up and just flex it, that's it, that's all it needs. That's gone. I'm just going to put end cap on here. I'm a little bit up against time at the moment because I'm flying to Japan tomorrow for 2 weeks, so I'm trying to get this finished. I'm going to try and find some bike shops over there. That'll be interesting. Right, they're on. Tighten these brake cables up now. So we've got a quick release on here, that's open, and that's closed. So there. I'm just going to back that out sort of a millimetre. This is going to confuse me because the levers on the other side. Try that. Really nice. Barrel adjusters all the way in now. Good, happy with that. I need a tiny bit of balance and it's rubbing a bit too much on this side. We've got some adjustment here. So you can adjust the brake balance on this screw here. It just pulls it over left or right, whichever you want. We just need it to go over this way. A tiny bit, so that's nicely centered there now. Good. Cable and cap. Good, brakes on. Let's just do the rear, just repeat the same thing again. So I've fitted a bolt temporarily in here before the new titanium one arrives, just so we can get it back together basically, but I'll just swap that out later, like 2 minutes. Okay. Alright, so just going to go through these gears. I've actually managed to get this to work now. I just unscrewed it a couple more turns and it's finally bit and it does actually work, so I'll let them off. Alright, let's have a look. Not bad. A little bit slow coming down here, but we are on the worn cassette, so that should improve with a new one. But it's indexing pretty well, and obviously the shifter's working, so not bad. Right. So we'll leave it at that for now, and we'll put the new cassette on, and that should hopefully improve that. Some of these SRAM ones do get a little bit lazy when they're coming down here. Some people put a washer in here to increase the spring tension and all sorts, but I think when you're actually on the road and you're putting some pedal pressure on there, it gives it just that extra little bit of force to go down there, so I'm pretty confident that'll be okay. But they're indexing nicely and the shifter itself is working perfectly, so that's the result. I think what I'll do now is wrap the bars. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I'm conscious this video is getting a bit long because I've spent so long on this shifter. So I'll just quickly wrap these, and then the only other thing we've got to do is put the hoods on and wait for the cassette. Using a San Marco tape on this, kind of like a furry black one's quite nice actually. No AliExpress on this one. Right, let's quickly get this wrapped up. So we've got some new lever hoods as well, genuine SRAM ones. This is the right hand one. These can be a bit fiddly to fit. The best way I've found it, some people say put them in hot water, but I also use a bit of hand sanitizer sort of thing in there, lubes it up a bit. It's just this stuff. Just acts as a bit of a lubricant to get it over the tight bit. Just put some in here because it gets quite tight when you go over the top of the lever here. Some people say hot water. I've never tried it personally, but I guess that might help as well. I don't like doing these. They feel so dodgy sometimes, like they're going to snap, but I think this one's not too bad. It gets tight at the top, you see, and then it'll just drop straight over there. And this will just dry out. Overnight, it'll dry out. This little tab here hooks in here, which pulls it basically down into the front of the lever there, like that. Good. And just let that dry overnight, and it'll be fine. Nice. Makes such a big difference having fresh bar tape and lever hoods. It looks really nice. Right, I'll just wrap up the other side. I'm not going to film that because you've seen it 100 times before. Okay, so all wrapped up, nice and tidy now. I think we're just waiting for the cassette, which is not going to be today. It could be in 2 weeks' time because I'm off to Japan tomorrow. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Okay, magically, 2 weeks later, new cassettes arrived. Ultegra 10-speed cassettes fits those deep spline Dura Ace freehub bodies. You learn something every day. So standard Ultegra 10-speed cassette is the right one. Titanium bolt for the brake caliper and a new seat clamp. So let's get these final little bits fitted. To show you the difference, this is a 10-speed deep spline one. The section here is much deeper, obviously, than a normal hyperglide cassette that fits pretty much everything since I can ever remember. So this was, yeah, it was only, I believe, on some Dura Ace hubs around a couple of years, basically. So it's a very limited thing. Hence I've never seen one before, but you learn something every day. So this is a deep spline one to fit this hub that looks incredibly like a fulcrum, but has standard hyperglide spacing. So let's get this cassette on. So yeah, just back from Japan. Very, very, very interesting country. Absolutely crazy. Didn't see many bikes over there, to be fair. All bikes of interest, that's just, I mean, there's millions of bikes over there, but interesting bikes. I didn't see many particularly. Did find a couple of bike shops, a nice Trek one. Price-wise, pretty much the same as the UK from what I could see. So there's no bargains to be had. One thing I did pick up was a new tripod, which is this. Very nice tripod indeed. So again, hope that improves quality. I'm still getting comments on audio quality, so it's a little bit disappointing because I thought I'd mastered that, but the last video I just dropped last night, I don't know when you watched this one, but was on the Orange mountain bike, and apparently people are still saying that audio is not 100% level correct, so still got a little bit of work to do on that one, but it's a very steep learning curve, as I say. So why don't that fit on there? That's probably why this had this Campag lock ring on this should fit on there, but there's no way that's going on there. So this is a proper hybrid thing, this is. So okay, I'm gonna have to use the old Campag lock ring instead of this Ultegra one that came with it. That's far too wide, I'll show you. So the Ultegra one is 30mm near enough, and this one that came with this fulcrum hub, 26.5mm, big difference. So this, I don't know if this is the original fulcrum hub that uses a Campag. Kind of that makes sense because most fulcrum hubs are Campag based, but this is obviously the Shimano deep spline with this, probably is the original fulcrum lock ring then, which is sort of the unique to this one. And it's a strange setup, but it's going to work, so that's all we need. Right, that's going to go on. Right, we are on. Just talk that up. Never seen one of them ever. Hey, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest with the cycling industry. So many different standards, it's crazy. Good stuff. Right, let's get back in the bike. This new tripod's lovely. So easy. I apologise if the light's a bit weird. I've got a window in my workshop that's facing with direct sunlight at the moment, and I can't do anything about it. So sorry if it's a bit bright. We're almost there on this bike. We know the gears sort of pretty much work. I'll just run through them quickly, but they're all good now. Should only get better with a new cassette, obviously. So from comments on other people, I'm going to show you the preferred angle of this. So for the quick release, I come from a mountain biking background where we've always sort of gone upwards basically, so anything, if you're sort of off-roading and a branch was to hit it, all you're going to do is effectively tighten the wheel. So I've always kind of left it in that position, or even facing backwards a little bit. But one of the roadies have been saying on the comments, which is a fair point, I didn't know this, if potentially if you're in a pack and a tyre comes in here from another rider, you're going to get an issue where potentially it could cause an accident. So on the road bike with a quick release lever, apparently the position they say is kind of in there, so you prevent that issue there. Obviously on a road you're highly unlikely to hit a branch, and potentially if it did, it's still only going to hit it there. Basically on a road bike, that's the preferred position. Alright, just run through the gears now with that new cassette then. Nice going up. A bit slow going down to this 11th sprocket, 10th sprocket, so you pull it down it goes. I just wonder if these jockey wheels might be a bit, yeah, there's quite a lot of slop in that top jockey wheel. Let's have a look at that. This jockey wheel's got quite a lot of play in there, a lot of slop, so I think that's why it's just very sluggish getting down to this 10th sprocket. The limit screw is miles away, it's not touching that, so it's not that issue. Just a lot of play in that jockey wheel. I'll see if I've got any more. I've got some 11 tooth ones here, I think they'll drop in nicely. Let's just get that fitted. So this derailleur is, what, 15 years old now, so they do get a bit tired over the years. Gonna get some Loctite on this bolt. Always put Loctite on your jockey wheels, trust me. The last thing in the world you want falling out in the middle of a long ride. It's happened to me. Get that nipped up. Okay, just change this bottom one. These jockey wheels are just some no-name generic ones. SRAM jockey wheels are just obscenely expensive for nothing different to anything else really, in my opinion. Alright, let's see if that's any better. Still slow down there. Crazy. Oh, I don't know. Just a little bit slow down there still. Hey. I think I'll check the hanger alignment, but what I don't want to do is break this one because that's going to be a nightmare to get. So the rest of the cassette's shifting lovely. It's just this last little one it's just not quite happy with. Let's just drop this off and check this hanger. So when you're checking your hanger alignment, always use a known reference point. Unless you know your wheel's 100% straight, which this one is, then best practice is to use a known reference point. So we're checking it at the valve here. Drop this down to the bottom and check it at the valve again. I say, unless your wheel's massively buckled, it doesn't make much difference, but just to tell you what best practice is. Right, that is absolutely perfectly straight. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to try a washer behind this to see if we can sort of artificially increase the spring pressure of the derailleur, because it's just a tiny bit sluggish on that last gear. I say the rest of it's working perfectly, so it's a bit annoying. Effectively move the derailleur out very slightly to effectively increase the spring tension on the derailleur is the theory behind it. Let's try that. It's actually improved it quite a lot. Yeah. That's a lot better. So what I've done there, just to try and help this lazy spring give it some more pressure, is move the derailleur over by putting a copper washer in between there and the mount. And basically that's made it a lot more responsive, dropping down to that smaller sprocket. Let me just show you. Definitely helped. Straight away pretty much. Yeah, a lot better. Just made it a lot more responsive just by doing that. I'll say a lot of people do this on the older SRAM stuff because this spring in there, the main spring that pulls this back, it just seems to get a little bit tired over the years, so that just effectively increases the spring tension very slightly. And you can see that's dropping straight down there now, so good. Just going to do a very small adjustment on the cable tension to accommodate for that washer there. Now it's shifting lovely. Oh. Nice. Well, we're calling that a day. For a 15-year-old SRAM derailleur, we're calling that good. Right, let's get this brake bolt done and the seat clamp. Tripod's so nice. Just going to change this temporary quick release seat clamp. I'm not clamped by the top tube, don't panic, it's literally just resting in there loosely. I've marked the position of the seat post with some tape. There's markings on it, but tape's easier. Bone dry, so we'll get some carbon paste on this finish line, being a carbon frame. New clamp. So we'll go to 6 Newton meters on this one. Good. Let's wipe any excess paste off because it scrapes most of it off when you put it back in. Right, that's got that, that's tight. Take the tape off. Another little job done. Lovely. This is a temporary bolt I put in just so we could set the brakes up, if you remember. I've now got the titanium bolt to replace that with. This quick release is a bit tight as well. This lever should move a bit more independently than that, so let's get some lube in there. Just something. WD-40 is fine for this. Don't use it for much on a bike, but something like this is pretty good actually. Let's just get that in there and get it to actually move independently. This is a quick release, so when you're basically taking your wheel out, it opens the caliper ever so slightly so you can get the inflated tyre past the brake. So that piece there should stay where it is and this should move up independently, so it's not doing that yet. So what I'm going to do is just put this bolt back in and then I can hold this where it should be and work this lever loosely. And it should eventually free up like that. There you go. Right, that's doing what it's supposed to do now, lovely. That's how it should be working, totally independently of each other, like that. So now we can change this bolt out, clamp the cable. So because we're running titanium into an aluminium part, I'm using some anti-seize, just because it's dissimilar metals. It's an aluminium based anti-seize. You can use copper if you want, but aluminium tends to be better in a lot of respects. I'm not sure the science behind it, but the general consensus is aluminium based is better. Alright, so I'm just going to squeeze the caliper on there slightly, pull some tension through there, and just clamp that on. That one bolt's been bugging this owner for so many years, and it's like a 5-minute job. Alright, so this quick release now should open, which it does. Great. And that's closed. Lovely. One last thing I want to check is this headset. It feels okay, but it just feels a bit tight. It doesn't feel notchy or indexing, it just feels a bit on the tight side, so I think we'll just whip this off quickly. See what's going on in there. Tell you what, this new tripod's fantastic. So much nicer to use. It's a fluid head tripod. I didn't know such a thing existed, but it just makes life a lot easier. I just need to get my audio right. It's still bugging me. People are still saying it's not quite right. It's hard to find because if you Google how many settings you need for this camera and for this microphone, and they all tell you something different. So I'm going to have to do some experimentation and basically just some tests really and see which one gives me what I'm looking for, because I think the quality's good. I think it's just the volume is not good enough yet. I can turn it up in the editing software, don't get me wrong, you can do that easily, but shouldn't need to. It should just record it right straight out. Right, let's just have a look what's going on in here. Super clean. I think it was just too tight. So there's a bit of grit in this bottom one, so we'll just whip it out and clean that up. Yeah, we're just cleaning the crud off here. It just builds up here. Everything flicks up from the front wheel, obviously, so the lower bearing gets a lot of abuse in comparison to the top one. But it's in good condition, there's no wear here. This is one of the older ones where it's got a crown race on it, and the newer carbon stuff has an integrated race on the carbon forks, so you don't use crown races. I say this bike is 15 years old. Things have changed. Right, it's nice and clean. It's actually in really good condition. That's the top bearing, it's in perfect condition. Yeah, it's just too tight basically. That bearing feels lovely as well, so let's just get some fresh grease on this race. Mobile XHP 222. Everyone should use this grease, it's the best. It's what comes standard in enduro bearings and things like that, so Hope, I think, use it as well, so it's fantastic grease. Alright, let's get this headset back in and a little less tension on it this time. One interesting comment that picked up on another video was the use of carbon paste on carbon steerers. So I've always used it. Apparently, Trek recommend that you don't use it. I think they were basically, what they were saying is, it's quite interesting, they've got a technical document, but what they're saying is basically if you're putting carbon paste on here, it can work its way down into the headset, and the particles in the carbon paste potentially cause wear on the steerer. I think, to be honest, they're covering their arses for a bit of a lawsuit of some potential historic, I don't know. But yeah, their recommendation is not to, but then you look at Cervelo's website and they say you definitely must use carbon paste on this, so make your own mind on that. So this one didn't have any anyway, so we're going dry. That feels good. That's perfect. All right, good. So there's 5 Newton meters on this, so I use the Park adjustable one that you can set to anywhere between 4 and 5, so it's pretty handy. I've got torque wrenches obviously, but I find these really good for headset stems and stuff like that. Good. We didn't quite beat it, so 7 kilos on these, not very expensive scale, so we're not far off. Before everybody says I forgot the valve lock nut, here it is. I'll stick it on. I don't think that's going to add any weight though, so yeah, we'll call it 7 kilos on the dot. So we're all done on this one. So basically, yeah, you hang on the wall for best part of 5 or 6 years for the sake of 2 little clips in there that had fell off, so that's all it needed. A few other bits and pieces, as you saw. Gears are now actually working, brakes are great, no corrosion anywhere really to detract from it. Fresh bar tape, fresh grips, headsets, perfect, literally. So I'll get a quick final wipe down, let the customer know it's ready for collection, and he can finally get back out on the roads on it, rather than just sitting staring at it on the garage wall wishing it was fixed. So I hope you enjoyed that one, plenty more to come. If you enjoyed that, maybe check out some of these other videos that I've got here. Same sort of thing, servicing and bringing things back to life, that's what we do. So thank you very much.